Hello and welcome inside the CitrusTV studios for another web edition of Cuse Countdown alongside Adam Unger and Matt Weasel there. I'm Nick Dugan. Guys, NC State comes into the Carrier Dome and beat Syracuse last Saturday, and Eric Dungey not on the field for that game. Wasn't on the field against Clemson. That was Austin Wilson's game for the most part, and Zach Mahoney takes over the starting job against NC State. Which quarterback performed more admirably in Eric Dungey's absence?
Zach Mahoney had a full week to prepare. Zach Mahoney was a much more admirable performer at quarterback. He was able to spark the offense with his zone read. He was able to keep Syracuse in the game against a very, very tough NC State team. Mahoney was able to lead the team a lot better, more fit to do so under Dino Babers. Mahoney was much more admirable.
Performance, admirable, yes. The situation, admirable, Austin Wilson. He was thrown into a 10-0 game against Clemson and told, hey, try to come back and make it at least a decent result. He threw 2 interceptions, had issues, but with the situation, very difficult for him. He played very well under the circumstances, and look, does he deserve a little bit of a better chance? Maybe, and he's listed at number 1 on depth chart with Zach Mahoney and Eric Dungey, so we'll see what happens.
And it's going to be perhaps one of those two again this week. Eric Dungey's status still questionable. But no matter who's going to play this Saturday, head coach Dino Babers' objective is to make sure that this senior class finds itself playing 3 more games this season instead of 2.
Every senior group that I've been with, we've had an opportunity to make their season better than the season that they've had before that. And I take great pride in that. I can still remember meeting the seniors for the very first time in this room and telling them it was going to be different and that they need to have faith and that we were going to do some great things. I think that we've occasionally done some great things, but we've consistently haven't been good enough. And it would be really cool to finish off these last 2 games with 2 solid, consistent performances with an opportunity to maybe play a third for that senior group. I think they deserve it. I believe they've been under 3 head football coaches, which is difficult for any young man in that age group from 18 to 22. And sometimes I know life's not fair, but I really hope that it's fair for these guys because I think they're a special group. They're a small group that's on the football field, but I think they're special.
Dino Babers saying that each senior class that he's coached has had the opportunity to improve upon the season before it. Guys, right now, SU's team last year and this year, both sitting at 4 wins. But as a whole, has this senior class been able to improve under Dino Babers this season?
Improved, yes, but not as much as Dino Babers had promised or hoped. Talent-wise, when you look at talent inherited versus talent that he's going to be up against, this is the worst team, this is the worst situation that Dino Babers has come into in his head coaching career. That's a little bit of an excuse, not quite. The offense took 2 steps forward, the defense took 3 steps back. Improvement, yes. Enough, absolutely not.
When you look on the paper, though, at the end of the day, 4 wins last year, and most likely going to be 4 wins this year. So an improvement possibly was statistically. Obviously, Eric Dungey have a very good statistical year as well as Amba Etatawo. But as a team, 4 wins, still 4 wins. Not much of an improvement to me, just a push.
And we touched on it earlier, but the big question that everyone wants to know, with a 4-6 record and 2 games remaining, does SU go bowling this season?
They will not. Syracuse might be able to pick up a 5th win, but a 5th win is far from a bowl guarantee. You look at the schedule, you got Florida State, you got Pitt. Syracuse might be able to squeak one out in one of those 2, but definitely not both. It's going to take another season for the Orange to go bowling.
Definitely, and it's just a very tough schedule. They haven't had a lot of success on the easy games, and in the hard games, obviously getting blown up by Louisville and Clemson. A couple tough ones, and just tough schedule, especially for Dino Babers in his first year. I'm not looking at a bowl game this season. Next year, we'll see.
So you touched on it a little bit, Matt. There's a couple games that maybe this SU team would have liked to have back. Which loss do you think they'll be kicking themselves over once the season ends if they don't make it into a bowl game?
I look at 2 losses, Wake Forest and NC State last week. Both very winnable games for the Orange. And the reason for that is they were teams that are worse than teams they beat. They beat number 17 Virginia Tech. As soon as you beat a ranked team, the expectations for you are highly risen. They beat Virginia Tech. Not only did they beat Virginia Tech, they took Virginia Tech and told them, get out of the dome. It was all Syracuse all day. So now I'm looking at this team, and yes, there should be regret on this team. There are at least 2 wins left. Obviously, they did not play well coming out of the bye week against Clemson. But coming into NC State, even with the backup quarterback, still just put up a little bit of a better performance. And then Wake Forest, absolutely terrible. I look at this a little bit of a failure of a season because you beat that ranked team, which is great. But in the end, you're still against two bad teams. You weren't able to perform. That is absolutely atrocious. That is maybe bad coaching, maybe bad preparation. You got to be able to say, if you're that talented, you're able to win those 2 games. You have 6 wins. You're going to a bowl.
Regret, yes. Missed opportunities, yes. However, I would not call the season a failure. The worst loss was easily Wake Forest. The weather should not have been as much of a factor for the Syracuse offense as it was for that game. Dino Babers is an offensive coach. He has coached bad weather teams before. He should have been able to account for that. This was a Wake Forest team that Syracuse beat last season. That is the biggest step back to me. NC State, on the other hand, working with a backup quarterback, a little bit more leeway there, still stayed in the game, unlike Wake Forest. I wouldn't call this season a failure, but Wake Forest is going to be the loss that Syracuse regrets most.
So weather most likely not going to be a factor in the Carrier Dome on Saturday. The Orange will welcome in the 7-3 ranked Seminoles of Florida State. Guys, what's going to be the key for the Orange in this game?
The key for the Orange is to go to the air. Look, the run game has not worked all season long. It's just been run into the pile out of the shotgun time and time again. In order to open up space for the wide receivers, whoever the quarterback is has to push the ball deep first to open things up underneath for the Esteems, for the Phillips. Syracuse has to go to the air and be bold going to the air to have a chance at winning this game.
For me, the key to the game, limit the big play. Syracuse had a lot of issues this season with limiting just a big play that gets an offense either into the end zone or into basically the red zone and then be able to get in. Whether it be an interception or in a lot of cases, you look back to the Clemson game, Deion Kane, this is the one that comes back to me, over a 60-yard touchdown reception. And that's the play that needs to be limited by Syracuse if they have any chance. And obviously with Dalvin Cook coming to the Dome, that's a big chance for a lot of running plays to go around the edge, go through the middle, and make big plays like Lamar Jackson did when Louisville came to the Dome. Limiting the big play. Any chance that SU has comes in that respect.
So guys, Florida State coming in at 17th in the nation. In case you didn't know, every single week of the college football season this year, the 17th ranked team has gone down. So, with that in mind, who takes out the W in the Carrier Dome on Saturday?
I'd love to say that Syracuse will be able to stop that trend. Not so much. Give me Florida State 41-17. And look, Syracuse does have the potential to win this game if they're able to do things, even a little bit of last year. Remember the LSU game, was Zach Mahoney able to control the offense? But in the end, Dalvin Cook is too good on the ground. The Florida State defense is too good. I think it's just too tough a opponent for Syracuse this year to handle this late in the season after these two demoralizing losses in a row to Clemson and NC State.
I agree with you, but assuming Syracuse goes to the air, I'm going to be a little more lenient for Syracuse, 41-24 in favor of Florida State. This is still a very good Florida State team. Their only 3 losses have been to ranked teams in Clemson, UNC, and Louisville. That being said, Syracuse, 1 ranked win, sure, not quite up there. Quarterback situation very much up in the air. Syracuse is really going to struggle to get a W against the Seminoles.
So both of our analysts predicting a 7th loss on the season for Syracuse. That's all the time we have here in studio. Make sure you check out all of our content at CitrusTV.com. For Adam Unger, Matt Weasel there, I'm Nick Dugan. Thanks for watching and have a great night.